morning. I'm Ria Tanwat Cotrillo. Welcome to New Day.
We have all the news you need and more. I'm Paolo Abreu.
Andre Felix Christine is taking the day off today, but do join us in the next hour only here on CNN Philippines.
In the headlines today, President Marcos is back in the country after attending the ASEAN Summit in Cambodia. We have the highlights of the president's trip in a few minutes. In sports, Gilas Pilipinas wins against Saudi Arabia, sweeping the fifth window of the FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers. And today on New Day, Korean-Japanese boy band Try for New, or TFN, met with their Filipino fans over the weekend, and they join us live. President Bongbong Marcos is back in the country after his four-day participation in the 40th and 41st Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Summits, in Cambodia. The president met with various world leaders, tackling how the Philippines can strengthen ties with ASEAN nations in terms of defense, maritime, agriculture, and food security. Regional issues, including the territorial dispute in the South China Sea, were also discussed. Upon his arrival midnight, Mr. Marcos shared his encounter with ASEAN counterparts and the value of these summits. Our Stanley Gajete tells us more.
Philippine President Bongbong Marcos says the last event in his visit to Cambodia was a meetup with the members of the Filipino community in Phnom Penh. This was part of his itinerary for the 40th and 41st Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summits. In his arrival speech, the president thanked the Filipino community for their contribution to the country's progress and development, including the country's Cambodia. The president shared some updates on the current situation of the country and the programs and policies being implemented of the administration.
I am pleased to report that my visit to Cambodia for the 40th and 41st ASEAN Summit was successful.
The event gave the president the chance to encounter fellow ASEAN leaders. They discussed community-building efforts and pressing regional issues and concerns. Among these concerns are the Myanmar situation, developments in the South China Sea, Ukraine crisis, and Timor-Leste's application of ASEAN membership.
For me, it was a very interesting experience because it's the first one that I've been to. I've been to ASEAN Summits before, but certainly not as president. I can see the value of having these summits, because although there isn't a chance to sort of exchange views like possibly like we do, there is a very, very clear way of putting that it is an opportunity for all the member states.
In Phnom Penh, President Marcos held a bilateral or one-on-one meeting with Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Mon Chinh. They agreed to further cooperate on defense, maritime security, trade, investment, and agriculture. Cambodia also offered to help the Philippines in matters of food security.
There was a very large area of consensus amongst the ASEAN member states. Ganun pare-pareho kasi sa atin, yung food supply, presyo ng fertilizer, presyo ng langis. Yun ang inaalala, supply side problems. Parehong-pareho sa atin.
ASEAN leaders also interface with leaders of the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand as dialogue partners. They reviewed how relations are progressing and the status of post-pandemic recovery cooperations. They also tackled initiatives and projects crucial for the region.
In all these meetings, I articulated our national interest and our commitment to working with ASEAN, our dialogue partners, to find common ground to address the issues affecting our region and to strengthen cooperation.
With economies rising from the pandemic-induced slump, Marcos says he had discussed with Cambodian business leaders on how our small and medium enterprises can participate in the growing Cambodian market. Marcos also thanked the Cambodian government for extending hospitality to the Philippine delegation. He is now looking forward with Indonesia as the next chair of ASEAN Summit in 2023. Stanley Gaete, CNN Philippines.